Hiya, Jamie from Everon here again. Hope you're all keeping safe and fit during the lockdown still. I wanted to follow on from another video I did recently about security and apps and using two-factor authentication. There's currently a large amount or a surge in threats online and scams and phishing attacks going around on the internet. I think hackers have realised that as there's now a lot of remote working and that remote working might have been hastily set up, that there might be some holes that they can exploit. So hopefully you've all set up tools like two-factor authentication and using unique passwords and credentials in all your sites and services now. I wanted just to talk briefly about the other area that I think you should focus on. With a large number of phishing attacks and things like that going around at the moment, even if you've added your two-factor and you've created unique passwords and credentials for your sites and systems, at some point you're probably still going to be receiving data or communication from third parties. Primary example of this is email. You could have secured your email to its utmost and still receive an email from a spoofed or hacked source. The problem is you can only control your own environment and systems, and at some point you're going to have interaction with third parties and vendors and suppliers and clients who are going to be sending emails and other communications into your system. While you can protect your system and you can try and put checks and security in place to verify these external communications into your system, they're not always 100% effective. So there is a human element that you should focus on for when all else fails. And it might be that you've received an email that's a legitimate email, but it's actually a spoofed email. Now, a spoofed email is where it's a genuine email with potentially no malicious content in, but it comes from an incorrect address. So in an example, it might be that someone sent from everon.com to one of our clients or providers, pretending to be myself, but our actual email address is jamie@everon.co.uk. So it might be that a spam filter or security setup at our clients or providers wouldn't pick that up as being a spam email, as it's a legitimate email address. And it could be just that user that sent that email is trying to pretend to be me in the event to get you to pay an invoice to them instead of us, to get you to open a security or request a change. So spam filters and security settings will only protect against emails and communications that are inherently malicious or damaging. They won't always protect against spoofed email addresses or spoofed communications. So it's always a good idea to educate staff and users on the human element of checking emails and things that don't necessarily look correct. There's a few different really quick checks that you can do or staff can do on things like emails that come in. The first is just the tone of the email. Is it the same sort of language or tone that user would normally use in their other emails? If not, that could be a red herring. We did actually have one spoofed email that a client caught as the recipient was actually being overly nice in the email, and it was unlike them in real life. Number two, check the email address that the emails come from. So rather than just look at the display name, which might have that user's name, actually have a look at that email address it's been sent from. In the example I used before, check the domain name's correct. So there's not an extra, for example, O in Everon. It's come from the correct TLD at the end, the .co.uk, the .com, things like that. That also applies to the links in an email. So if there's hyperlinks or there's text links in an email, check that they go to the correct websites. If it's a hyperlink, you can actually hover over the email or the link and it will show you in the bottom, I think, left-hand corner, the link address. If that's different to the sender's email or different to their website, the client's website or the recipient's website, then again, that's another red flag. Another thing to check is attachments. If you're used to dealing with someone and they don't send attachments, or you're not expecting an attachment, and all of a sudden they've sent one and it's in a zip format and it's not something you've expected, again, question it. Something we quite often see is where an email is received with a link or an attachment, and it opens up a web page that then asks you to log in to basically view that attachment. The purpose of these are to capture your own login details. If you do ever receive a link like this, again, check the addresses at the top. We've seen some that are meant to look like Office 365 or like Dropbox sites. When you actually look at the URL of the website that you put your details into, it's completely different. So again, check this. If you're not sure or you have questions about any of the bits that have been sent or that don't look right, the best way to verify is to speak to that user. For security reasons, don't just reply to that email, because if it is a hacked email address, you just reply to that hacker and they're obviously going to verify that they're a legit person. So the best way is to communicate via another method. If you've got a phone number, or you can do a live chat or a Teams chat, and just use a different communications tool to verify that they did send that message. That also lets them know that if it isn't them sending it, also alerts them that somebody's done this, and then they can try and take steps to rectify it from their side as well. There are some tools that will help in addition to the human checks I've just mentioned. Microsoft 365 has a tool called Advanced Threat Protection, and that basically will check all of those links in emails or in communications to vet the sites that they link to and make sure that they're genuine sites. It won't necessarily stop the emails being received or the communication coming in, but at least stop you clicking those harmful links or going to those scam sites. It'll also sometimes tell you, or it'll use AI to learn the recipients that you have communications with and tell you if something's off about the email address that something's been sent from. So for example, if you receive an email and it has a slightly different domain, it's got an extra O in it for everyone or something like that, it'll flag a banner across the top of that email to let you know that it is different from the norm and that you should check. It'd still be up to that human check or decision then to decide whether or not to investigate further or to take the email at face value, but at least those sort of things will help prompt users while they're using the systems. We've actually created a poster which has all those quick checks that I mentioned. You can see that here. That can be sent out to staff, can be put up on home office walls at the minute, or in your office when you're back at work. And this helps people just with a quick reference of some of the checks that I've mentioned. If you want a free copy of this, comment below or reach out to me and I'll send you as many as you need for your office. If you've got any questions or want to continue the conversation, then please reach out. I've got plenty of time, as I mentioned, while being under lockdown, to provide some free consultation and advice to keep everybody safe and secure while we're in the current climate. Thanks, bye.